Welcome, everybody. Thank you for tuning in to this wonderful conversation with Dr. Julie Gerland and myself, Joseph Jacques. And this is our next episode of The Origins of Awareness, Healing, and Transformation, a deep dive and creative exploration into what happens when we start the conversation before conception and go through in utero. And we get a chance to have that conversation. I've been having that conversation personally for quite some time, and I know Julie has dedicated her life to that particular question. And it's been a mythic adventure. It's been the hero's journey, and I would like to introduce you to Julie. Welcome, Julie. Thank you.
Thank you, Joseph. It's wonderful to be back. And yes, we're two passionate movers and shakers in this field of the early development and how our earliest experiences from conception shape our lives and the world. Isn't that so amazing? And we're here to share with you information, inspiration, and transformation.
They say transformation is a new quality of perception. And I love the word transformation. It's funny how some words you hear and then they really don't quite register. You're like, you hear this word over and over again, but then you really never really do the deep dive. You don't find out really what it means. And you hear it, you say it even, and you're like, oh, I don't. And Tony Robbins calls that, when you finally do get it, he calls that profound knowledge. He says profound knowledge means that once you finally understand it, then you can start to use it and really apply it into your life and to others, projects and ideologies and philosophies that you have. But it's really important for the audience we dive into that definition of transformation, and we really want you to get that it's part of the whole process. So thanks for paying attention.
And this brings me to an incredible subject, which is the feminine, because these words that we're using, process, transformation, are essentially feminine. This is what our Mother Earth does. She transforms, she processes. And so we're getting back to the sacred roots of the fruits. We said that, didn't we, already?
From the roots to the fruits. Come on, family, let's do this.
Exactly.
Yeah.
So it is feminine. It's about the sacred feminine. And if we don't go back really in our consciousness to understanding and experiencing and really, in a way, rescuing our early being, we're stuck with the recordings that we've been given. And talking about the old story, those things that just keep repeating and going round and round, and we can't get out of it. It's like hamsters in the hamster wheel, isn't it? And so with the feminine, the idea that life is a process, life is a transformation all the time. We go from, embryo all through the different stages of transformation. We have to keep up with that, but nothing in our society really prepares us for that.
It's so funny that you mentioned that, Julie, because when you're speaking, I think about where my mind goes is that there is an outer form of expression, like there's seasons, right? The crab molts, the spiders molt, the caterpillar goes to a butterfly. So what I call that rhythmic transformation. And if we can start to really exercise that rhythmic transformation and start to bring that, Joseph Campbell perhaps call it a rite of passage, right? So we're letting the information that we've got soak into us, and we decide to take that which is only really nutritious for us to hold on to, and then we let go of everything else. Biologically, that's what the body does. That's why we go to the bathroom twice a day, because the body knows instinctively how to take all those nutrients, the things that are obviously indigenous to the biology of our bodies, and say, hey, I'm going to hold on to this. This is for the eyes. This is for the heart. This is for the kidneys. This is for the liver. This is for the unborn child. Hello. and we're going to let go of everything else. And then you get to the placenta. The placenta knows how to, pull the nutrients out that it needs for the fetus. And so the idea of rhythmic transformation, the idea of that we do have seasons, we really want to make sure that we bring that into um, our physical, our emotional, our psychological, our spiritual, our cultural, and most important, that we do have structures, educational structures that can meet that need. So there is a real rubber to the road. Again, Julie and I will always keep coming back to the pragmatic applications. We won't, I promise, audience, we won't just stay on our head like a lot of people do and don't provide any solutions, right?
Exactly. And we're back into the feminine again.
Mm,
Because our societies have got us completely out of
mm,
the rhythms of the day and night. We call it the day and night dance.
mm.
And we've forgotten. I've met people who've said sleeping is a waste of time. So I said to this man, I said, well, you're preparing to get sick,
Mm,
because if you don't love your body,
mm,
then you wouldn't see why you would sleep. But your body desperately needs that time to sleep, the fallow land, right? To
mm,
rest and to basically digest before it takes up again.
mm,
And so we need these rhythms, and not only the day-night cycle, but then the moon, the lunar cycle. We've got the yearly cycles, and all the way up to the precession of the equinoxes, which is 1,000 years. Um, and we have forgotten how to live like that, because we've
mm,
become a blinkered, I hate to say it like this, but really male dominated, and male is just the left side of the brain. It doesn't just mean a man, right?
mm,
Um, this mental linear way of seeing things, where
mm,
the right side of our brain is not given really what it needs to develop, which
mm,
is the imagination, which is our creation code. How do we
mm,
create things? How do we form things? How do we bring things into being? And
mm,
it's not left by chance. It's not just hard slog.
mm,
There is a process to it. How does a mother form her child? There's a
mm.
process to it. There's an intelligence in it. And this, with our school systems, we're just kind of right out there, get a job, earn your living,
Yeah.
all this stuff is like, whoa, what
Yeah,
about
we're
now? They say to kids, how about this? What do you want to be when you grow up? Part of me is just scratching my head thinking, well, aren't I already something?
yeah, you're nothing, you're a blank slate now, but yeah, that's right.
You
I
do
think that
need a
that's
new story, Joseph.
oh my gosh. Well, I think we're at the right place and we're at the right time, and I really feel that Claire and call for the audience, and I really feel that our audience, I feel, has heard a lot of these things, and I feel that we have a twist because obviously our conversation starts before conception. And what does that mean? Well, we want to make sure that the idea of conscious parenting is that the parents understand a lot of these things that we're speaking into, and the why of rhythmic transformation, or the why of getting poisons out of our food, or the why of making sure that we sow healthy seeds, the why of literally regenerative agriculture, because the land and the people, it's one expression of the divine. And I love that. What I really appreciate about you, Julie, is you have such a holistic perspective. You keep your toe in the radical wholeness conversation, which I feel we need to keep our toe into, because we're so ripped apart by culture, and we are so ripped apart by oh no, dysfunctional families, dysfunctional government, dysfunctional food system. It's just like it's time to start having a conversation about wholeness and health, and what that means fundamentally at the grassroots level. And I love the fact that you go to making a distinction between the masculine and the feminine, because I feel that it's I think we mentioned this on the on the first podcast, but this is a massive love story. Really, instead of a Hollywood, explosion, red team versus blue team, perpetrator victim dynamic, and everybody's fighting each other and all that. We're talking about a wonderful love story of reconnection and community, and how we can use our collective intelligence to restore, replenish, make whole. Yeah.
Absolutely. And you know what? The universe is whole.
Mm.
It's just this side of the brain hasn't got it. All the rest
Woo!
is there. So, but we don't have to create it. It's already there waiting for us.
Mm. Mm.
But what we
Mm.
have to do is just quieten this. And this is,
Mm.
yogis have been teaching this for thousands and thousands of years. It's not new, right? But we
That's
do have
right.
to quieten down this side,
Mm.
allow the right side, the expansion, the connection, um,
Mm.
this wholeness that we do know, that we do feel, and this innate understanding and wisdom that is in women. Women,
Mm.
as I say, often have been mandated by nature to
Mm.
bring a child into the world and bring it to its full potential. How does she know? Well, she probably didn't go to school to learn it because we don't teach it there, but she
Mm.
does know. It's this innate knowing. And again, we've got so much into AI, the left brain, artificial linear knowledge, and
Mm.
we're missing the II, which is the innate intelligence.
Mm.
Everything that we're trying to do, we already have that inside us.
Mm.
We can do it through innate intelligence. We just need to tap into it. And it's
Mm.
during our earliest experiences that we get cut off from that. And that's what
Mm.
needs to change.
Michelangelo was asked, he somebody came up to him and said, "You have created a wonderful sculpture out of marble. It's just amazing this that you did this, and it's the heart is stone." And he was praised, and he looked at him and he said, "All I've done was move away the small pieces. The sculpture and the angel was already there."
Beautiful. I love that. That's exactly it.
Yeah, yeah. So we're
Our
moving.
soul and spirit is
What
there.
Julie and I are doing. What we're
Hello.
doing is just moving away the small pieces. I mean, but and again, this is a big story. But again, if we want to stay proactive, we want to stay positive and not go to doom and gloom, because it's so family, it's so easy to go to doom and gloom and all the horrible things that are happening. And I come to a quote, and I was telling Francois this in our men's group. We have a men's group called Cool Dudes. Shout out to the cool dudes. Um, and I said, a pickpocket doesn't see a saint, he sees pockets. So it really is a sense of perspective. And if you look for holes, that's what you see. But when you look for gifts, that's what you get. So we stay in that gift mode. And I'm not saying that we're not going to use morality to judge immoral behaviors. I'm saying that it's important that we're discerning and that we move forward in a positive way, the information that we have that allows us to grow and transform and become something greater than we were before, right? So we want the audience to get that we're taking a very proactive stance, but we will make visible the invisible, so we can make better choices. Yeah.
Exactly. Exactly. And there are choices to be made. That is for sure. We all have individual choices first.
Mhm.
And it's the same thing all my life. People have said to me, yeah, but you can do that because. So before I was married, they said it was, oh, you can do it because you're not married. Then when I
Mm.
got married, they said, oh, well, you can do it because you have a husband. So, no, I did it because I made the choice. And
Mm.
people say to me, oh, I can't leave my job. Oh, no, this is a choice.
Mm.
Well, I left a job at the age of 21 because they wanted me to lie. And I
Mm.
just said, no, I'm out of here. And
Yeah.
everybody around me said, oh, but it was such a good job, and you was, and I said, no, I can't exist in that environment.
Well, what a wonderful stance, a moral stance you were able to take. I was just the other night looking at really uncovering a key question, and one of the question was is why good people do bad things, and the number one reason was financial freedom. That they wanted to have financial freedom. They wanted that freedom to choose and express, and that particular job, and whether moral or not, whether people are spraying pesticides on the earth and they know it's not good, or they're fracking, and they know it's not good, or God forbid you're doing something with your body you don't want to do. It's a kind of a prostitution in a sense, or even an actor that doesn't want to take that role. There was it's a story about an actor, and it was a story about the beginning origins of African American in film. And the only roles back in the day, 50s and 60s, were horrible roles. Uh, you know, Playing a role of a rapist, or playing a role of a drug dealer or whatever, and it was just like, oh. And I'm not kidding, when I was watching this, and I was just crying, because I just felt because this guy was so proud. He was so proud that he had a role. I mean, he was just excited because he's an actor, and this is what he's going to do for the rest of his life. And he was so stoked. His whole family was behind him. You could feel the support that his family were with you, And the only role that he was given was this role of these horrible characters that were, the villain, the horrible villain. And it was just, I was just crying, because I'm like, it was just dualism of just this guy that just wanted to express himself in joy. And he only was given one role to play, and he played it the best he could. But to the benefit of our culture, to the benefit of moving a story forward, to the benefit of maybe not, but this is what we get to do. We get to reframe the story, whether it's a horrible story like that, or it's a story of our awareness and our perception of the beginning stages of life, because it's all entangled. There is a golden thread, there's an umbilical to all of it. Yeah, it just kind of popped to my head. So I wanted to bring that.
Yeah, absolutely. And this brings me to the core reasons why a lot of people do things that they don't really want to do,
Mm,
is fear.
mm,
So underlying is the fear of something. So what are the main fears?
mm,
The fear there's nobody there. I'm on my own. I have to do it for myself. I have to survive.
mm.
And where do we get this from? So if we go back to the womb, surprise, surprise, there's two ways that we can develop. One is in a loving universe where the baby in utero feels the oxytocin, the love hormones, in the amniotic fluid. And the message that that gives is
Mm,
that I'm connected. I'm not on my own, I'm connected. And I'm connected through love. And all my needs are being met. How fundamental is that?
mm.
And so when we know that deep inside ourselves, well, we're not afraid, are we?
Yeah, that
We can,
chemical handshake, that chemical hug, the chemical kiss, the chemical reassurance, that quantitative. Quantitative, but also qualitative. It's the dance of both, right? That reassurance.
it's just we know. So
Mm,
I didn't for one moment think, well, I'm going to leave this job and my goodness, what will happen? And will I be able to feed myself? Never have I thought that.
mm,
And I've traveled around the world for a couple of years with no money. So, I never ever thought of how is the next meal going to come. Because I
mm,
had very early on done this change inside so the other one is the loving universe, our
mm,
loving environment, and the other, there's only two, the other is fear.
mm,
And so if we don't, we're now back in the womb, let's say, and so we don't get the love, and I'm talking love is the chemical oxytocin, which
mm,
allows us to feel that we are bonded and connected.
mm,
Um, and because the baby can't survive if it's not, right? And so if there's the mother is living a lot of fear or stress, these chemicals are also in the womb, in the amniotic fluid. So what is the message, the neurotransmitter that the baby is developing in is that everything is not okay.
Mm.
Mother doesn't feel safe, so therefore I'm not safe.
Mm.
And I've got to be prepared to fight.
Hmm.
And so there are three, reactions. Is one is, can you fight? So a baby in utero can't. Can you run? No. But I can prepare the strength.
Mm.
This is what happens, is that nature then prefers to endow this child with more brawn than brain, right?
Mm.
Face the environment, which is a fearful one, so that the child can fight or run to save its life. This is being done from the moment of conception.
Mm.
And
Well,
if
and
you
yeah.
can't run or fight, what are you going to do is freeze. And when you're frozen, we see this in people. When you're
Mm.
frozen, you are suggestible. You're actually in a state of shock.
Mm.
And then you can be led around by the nose and people can do with you what they want, which is what's happening everywhere.
Yeah. Yeah.
So
Well,
we
it's
have to get back to this love. And you know what? If we haven't had it, like myself, I didn't receive that. My mother was totally ignorant to all this. But guess
mm.
what? We can change it.
Mm.
And that's what we have to do. Otherwise,
Yeah.
the same program that's just repeating itself,
Yeah.
and we can't get out.
It's interesting, when I hear you speak, I go to an inner and an outer, like I go to an inner perspective and an outer perspective, and this is an inner and outer phenomenon, because we have um, this inside fear, and then and the outside we have all these stories that are suggestive of how we should be, do, and relate. Hollywood does that very well. They're in this, you know, um, perpetrator victim dynamic stance, and an eye for an eye, like revenge. Two of the greatest grossing films of our time had one word that they shared in the film, and that was war. Star Wars and an Infinity War. Now, Star Wars, in light of the beautiful story that it was, did have elements of transformation. George Lucas did work with Joseph Campbell in creating the arc of the story. And there was this idea of the force, which was a very spiritual element to bring into a film. Where, for me, I knew the force was real, and I remember Julie. I swear to God, and maybe a lot of people in the audience can, we're about the same age. My mom came in my room, and I was sitting there like this, uh, trying to make one of my toys in my on my desk move. That I knew that if you just give me some time, I can make that thing move, and I'm going to make that thing move with my mind. I swear to God, it never moved, Julie. But
Surprise.
but but anyway, the idea of story, and the idea of that the outer story, um, we're really looking to reframe that as well, like almost having an actors and writers revolution, saying, "Hey, we've got to start shifting and balancing, maybe perhaps more of the cortisol and the oxytocin, right? So it's not just cortisol, cortisol, adrenaline, adrenaline, adrenaline. It's a balance of, again, masculine and feminine, where we're having that dual conversation, and we're asking the storytellers to reflect back to us stories that teach us how to create peace, stories that teach us the art of transformation, stories that teach us how men and women can use their multiple intelligences that exist inside their body to heal our civilization, as opposed to these same BS stories. And what I mean by BS is belief system stories that just are
I think you
that
had us there.
yeah, that goes out to Bruce Lipton, by the way. So, but these BS stories that really write on us, and as opposed to a script that we already have available. Um, I know I'm a geek and I'm going to say this, but innatism is a word that it's the philosophical epistemological doctrine that holds that we're born with ideas and knowledge. And so that is a whole different framing from we're born a blank slate
Oh.
without any references at all. And so I know that you've talked about that, and maybe you can give the audience a little bit more insight into that. Yeah.
So many people still say it, even in the conscious movement, because they just haven't got it. That our consciousness actually, this is a scoop, never stops. So we talk about people having NDEs, near-death experiences, and they're still conscious, but we're still conscious actually before we're born as well,
Mm,
and even before we're conceived, that way round. So consciousness is always there. It's the field.
mm,
It's actually in everything to different degrees. And so if you consider that we are conscious um, from conception, then we are living our most important development during that time. We're
mm,
developing our physical body that everybody can see. And if things don't go well during the pregnancy, our organs can be compromised, are compromised.
mm,
And we should know this. Because a lot of mothers, I've been teaching childbirth education for 25 years, and a lot of mothers don't think about it. They've heard, yes, you shouldn't drink and you shouldn't smoke and, you should eat kind of good food, but they haven't really put two and two together to
mm,
say, my baby is actually building his body and the quality of the heart, the quality of the bones, the quality of all the organs, which will continue to serve that child for the rest of his life.
mm,
And it needs the matter in which to do that. And
mm,
so, but also before we get back to the importance of that, because it's absolutely capital
mm,
of the quality of food and
mm,
the harmfulness of the toxins that are going into the food, we also need to say that we have an emotional body.
mm,
And this emotional body is being formed. As I said, do I live in a loving environment? Do I live in a fearful environment? How am I going to prepare my emotional state to
mm,
navigate my environment? Am I
mm,
going to just close down because it's all too much? Um, am I going to be ready as a bully to fight?
mm.
We see this on the world stage, and it can go easily back to the baby in utero and what
Mm,
he's been fed. Has
yeah.
he been fed, toxins and fear, or has he been fed love, connection, interaction of the mother and the father with the baby,
Mm,
and a capacity to feel loved and to love is already determined in some way by the time we're born. It doesn't
yeah.
start then. So no, there's no blank slate. Yes, the brain is developing from the first weeks of after conception.
Mm, that's right.
So can it be change? Yes, it can change. There is neuroplasticity. We can
Mm.
change our brain, but only if we're aware and we actually do it. Otherwise, we're stuck with the same prenatal brain most of our life.
Yeah.
And people then say, oh, well, I can't do it. I'm not good enough. I can't do it. And where do they get this from? Well, before they were born.
Yeah, that's why it's so important that the community knows that there is a conversation that can happen in the womb, and to have a mentor is so important, to be able to have somebody that can guide you, and to know that it's up to the mother and the father to have that conversation with the child that's in the womb. I always say to parents, you know make sure that you're having that wonderful conversation. And you can bring forward things that you love. Maybe it's working in the garden, maybe it's eating really good healthy food, you know maybe it's watching a really wonderful film, or reading some poetry, or reading a book. Maybe it's doing that together, maybe it's taking nature walks, maybe it's, hey, there's a tree and there's a bird, and but to have the intention to commune with the child, so there is an open conversation that happens. And a lot of people feel that, well, there's no connection. There's so much science
Right.
that shows how much connection that there is. And in fact, David B. Chamberlain, a friend of ours who is now dancing among the lilies in the other worlds, and God bless his heart, he talks about the 12 senses in the womb. And so there's so much science, there's so much discovery. I would always encourage parents, soon to be parents, or even if you're pregnant now, is to start, get with your husband or your wife, start having a conversation about, what would we like our children to know about? Hey, you're going to come to Earth. This is going to be an amazing experience. It's going to be heaven on earth, and we're going to create that. We're going to create the awareness all around that. And we're going to have this wonderful, adventurous hero's journey with you. And we're going to do that all together as a family. And we're going to create that magical family bond that's wrapped with oxytocin, with what's wrapped with wonderment and beauty and love and connection. And so like you said, it's a new conversation, it's a new story, and you and I are starting before conception, so we can reframe all of it. And I hope the audience truly gets the root of that. Yeah.
Absolutely. And you're just bringing in that we do work with other people, because this is not just a one single movement that can bring about the state of humanity that we're really longing for.
Mm,
I think that's why we found each other, because first of all, we know that we can reach our full potential on
mm,
every level of our being,
mm,
and that we're nowhere near that, and that it's all these possibilities are within us.
mm,
So we know that we can have a thriving human family. We know that. It's possible, absolutely possible. And
mm,
I've known this since I was 16 years old. And, for 50 years, I've been working for it because I absolutely know we can do it. So the thing
mm.
is that we know we can do it. We know how to do it. And so now we just getting on and doing it.
It's so interesting. You're I love your passion. You do have this passionate element in your heart. Everybody can feel that when you speak. I feel it, and it's so interesting how we just need to get the information out there, and because the information already exists. But I feel a lot of times there's so many distractions, and I think that's kind of where we're at right now. There's so many BS distractions that keep us from fundamentally understanding the beginning of life, or the importance of the beginning of life, or the importance of eating well. It's slowly getting out. People like Joe Rogan, people like Jordan Peterson, people that are they're getting out there and sharing a holistic conversation, a fundamental conversation about awareness, health, and transformation. And that's the origin, right? That's the name of our podcast, the origins of awareness, healing, and transformation. And so we're very attracted to that. And I feel that if you can, as the audience, start to look at your daily lives and look at your what you're bringing into your consciousness, and start to make a list and of what you're committed to. If it's a higher level of consciousness, a higher level of awareness, obviously elevated level of health, and start to let go of the things that no longer serve you, stories that aren't in alignment with your new empowerment story. and start to scribe that. So you are, in essence, the protagonist in your own story, and you start to get clear of the things that don't serve you and the things that do fulfill you. And you know, essentially going to fulfill your family, your community, your extended family. So we can start to live out the reality in the story that we truly came here to live, not some BS other story that others, media, politicians, blah blah blah, want to write on us. We're not here to be written on. We're here to look at that and say, well, thank you for all those stories, but that no longer serves this new story. And so that's
Exactly.
why you and I have connected, because we're interested in a new story, and systems in a world in transition. I feel that that's kind of where we're at right now.
Absolutely. And it is the transformation of the story because we all have been, projected a story on,
Mm,
who we are, and I'm English and you're American, and I'm this, I'm a woman and you're a man, and all these things are projections on us.
mm,
And we need to get in touch with this story. Exactly what you said is keep the things which serve us, and the things that don't, know how to recycle. We're into
mm,
recycling material. Let's recycle these things
mm,
and bring them out in another form, a form of empowerment where
mm,
we're no longer the victim of our lives. We're the
mm.
actors. And we decide, and then for me, I rub my hands and say, um, come and learn the conscious creation code. Because
Oh,
once
what?
you've got that,
Yeah.
you become the creator. You can
Mm,
change your story and not only, rub some bits out, you
mm.
create the new story.
Yeah.
And because everything that we manifest in life actually comes through a creation code, which is the same as that's happening in nature. And
Mm,
if a lot of people are talking about manifestation and things like that, but it's for me, from my point of understanding, how a mother takes an idea, a seed, um,
mm,
which is tiny, 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 it's almost not there, right? And brings it full blossom into a born baby, which is then going to grow into a full adult expression of a human being.
mm.
And why not, a God person, fully realizing their soul and
Ooh.
spirit,
Yeah.
um, then we can we can do that if we've understood how she how she performs this process. So
Mm,
again, it's been intersected, this process. Talking about a baby's in the womb. So what does the kind of male-dominated rationale say? Well, if the baby's in there, it needs to come out, you just pull.
yeah.
And basically that's what they do, right? Grab it, yank it out, pull it out.
Wow.
It's like, but if you really put down into slow motion what is
Mm,
going on inside of a woman as she is birthing, it brings tears to my eyes. We
mm,
transform this story of pain and fear and violence, the pulling and the shoving and the, knocking the mother out and injecting her and all these things, very violent, into
mm.
something which would just put you on your hands and knees in reverence
Reverence. Yeah.
to what actually is the woman's body and how it's been designed. And when it's given the right conditions,
Hmm.
what really goes on? It's so incredible, so intelligent, so beautiful
Yeah.
that you wouldn't dare interfere with that if you could see how perfect it is.
Yeah. But when you speak, I think to myself, and hopefully the audience does as well, gets that that's why it's absolutely crucial to start before conception. I'll keep coming back to that because from the roots to the fruits. And if everybody's looking for that umbilical, no pun intended, that's it. And when you start to look at that and you realize that, and you bring consciousness to a family, conscious parenting, and you look at you look at the importance of getting clear about the how one affects the other and how we can work with each other to become more aware about how to heal, how to make whole, how to let go of disempowering stories. It's all connected. It's just this massive love story of connection and communion, and that's what really inspires me about all of this, for sure.
Exactly. And so my takeaway would be for everybody to feel inside their body the
Mm,
moment that they feel stress or fear. Don't try to analyze it or understand it. Simply change it by loving. So
mm,
what does that mean? Why? Because these two groups of hormones, which are so powerful, they make the whole world go round. There's
mm,
nothing outside of fear and love. So when we're in fear and stress, everything in our body clamps down. Our intelligence, our heart, our body, and we're on the slippery slope to chronic disease and death.
mm.
Okay? So we do not want to live our life in fear and stress. But a lot of people say to me, yeah, but how can you change it? And it's true that if I just say to you, Joseph, oh, for heaven's sakes, don't be afraid, is that going to work? No. If I say, oh, you're stressed again, don't be stressed. You ain't gonna work, right? So, so what do you have to do? You have to know that these two groups of hormones are antagonistic. It's like the
Mm,
accelerator and the brake. You can't have them in your body at the same time. So what you want
mhm,
to do is, I feel this stress coming on, and everybody knows what it feels like in their body, right? So become aware. Even children, youth have told me, oh yeah, I feel it in my solar plexus. I feel my voice can't come out because I'm afraid or I'm stressed. And so we know that. So what do? Is you start loving. So what does
mm,
that mean? Is you find something, whatever it is, that you love. I love my cat. I love the sun. Whatever it is, at this stage, right at the beginning, it doesn't matter. It doesn't have to
mm.
be a human being. There's a lot of people who've told me over the years, well, I don't love anybody. Who cares? Do you have a cat? Do you have a bird? I once taught this to 75 healthcare professionals in the Congo in Africa.
Oh man, that's cool.
And most of them were sent by the Minister of Health to take my workshop.
That's cool.
And one man, when I took them through this exercise to actually do this, and I said, would anybody like to share? And he said, yeah, I'd like to share. He said, I sent my love to my tomato plants. So of course, to translate for you, we'd say tomato plants. But it doesn't matter. Just imagine that you're just sending your love from your heart to that being.
Mm,
And you can, if you want, imagine that being is in your arms. So I just imagine a nice cat that we have, taking the cat, and that feels all furry and lovey, and I'm already secreting oxytocin. So I'm
mm.
inhibiting all the stress and fear hormones. The two cannot go together, okay? So I want to be able to stay in this column, secreting oxytocin, secreting endorphins, as much as I possibly can in my life.
That's right. Yeah. Well, that's a wonderful return back to love. Marianne Williamson has returned to love, and um, Michel Odent, how do you say his
Olga,
name? Odent.
Olga,
Uh, he has a book. I I
with the
believe it's
scientification of love.
Scientification of Love. Oh wow. When I read that, very very scientific, by the way, how he writes. It's a very almost like a scientific journal,
He
really.
is a scientist, yes.
Yeah, yeah, he's a full-fledged scientist, but he goes into the absolute role of oxytocin, which I believe he wrote. Oxytocin is a short polypeptide hormone secreted from the posterior lobe of the pituitary gland that aids in the contraction of the uterus during labor, as well as to help with getting breast milk to the infant.
So
And
this
of
is,
course,
this is just one thing I'd like to say, because I know Michelle very well, and I work with a lot of doctors, scientists for decades. Now, this is where we differ, because the way they see the body is they're looking at it as outside of themselves.
mm,
And so with the left brain, they say, oh, okay. So we have noticed that during conception, during the birth process, this hormone, oxytocin, the love hormone, is present. So they say, so the body just does this. And so I'm saying, and Michelle Audin actually talks about oxytocin as the shy hormone. Well,
mm,
I disagree with you, Michelle. As much as I love you, I disagree with you. It's shy because you're a man and you're shy to love. A
mm.
woman who is in love, so she's not afraid, nobody has told her of all the dangers and the terrible things that could happen. So she inhibits. She's in
Mm,
love. She's going to bring this baby into the world. She's secreting oxytocin all the time. It's not shy at all.
mm.
But because in our society, nobody teaches us. I mean, I grew up, nobody teaches you how to love. My father used to say to me, yeah, I don't even know what love is. What's
Yeah,
love?
yeah, it's
So
amazing. It's amazing.
so basically, all I'm saying is that experiment, because
Mm,
actually we do love things. You know, if you like going out on a boat, you know, or scuba diving. I love that feeling of scuba. You know, you're in it. And
yeah.
you will be secreting oxytocin at that moment because you feel the bond. And that means it's actually happening in your body.
And again, it's for the audience, it's an inner and outer, right? We always want to be moving from inside to outside. And um, I'll leave you with a wonderful story about the guru and the saint, just to give context to the how you go from inside to outside. And it's a wonderful story. It's a story of this guru who was doing an all weekend workshop, and he had a chaperone, and the chaperone was this army guy, uh, and the guru over the whole weekend noticed the army guy because he was tending to him, getting him, water, and taking him to his place, and carting him around and things like that. But he was very quiet. The army guy was very quiet. And at the very end, the guru said, I have to ask you a question. What keeps you so conscious? Like, how are you so present in each moment? And the army guy said, well, when I was in Vietnam, I had mine duty, and I had to go out, and every step that I took could have been my last step. And the guru got it. He's like, wow, imagine bringing that type of consciousness into everyday life, that every step you take could be your last step. And to bring that level of consciousness from the inside, that awareness, that conscious, to the outside, into the actual step, was a profound way of being and doing and relating. And so I invite the audience to simmer in that for a bit, because all the things that Julie and I are talking about are an inner and outer experience. They start from within, and the expression comes without. And so we're excited that the audience is participating in this journey. And Julie, what do you think? Should we put a pin in this?
You know, I think we can invite whoever's watching this
Mm,
to write below any of your comments, your stories, your questions. We'd be really delighted in our next episode to take them on board and answer them. This is a collaborative discussion
mm.
for the whole of humanity. And we'll be posting some more of these conversations, hopefully with some of your comments and your stories and questions.
Well, that's wonderful. And so I wanted to I wanted to bring the audience to a place where there is a love vibration that's happening, and a lot of times those out there feel alone, and they feel like there's not a support team, and that they don't understand how this whole thing works. Just stay steady and love yourself through all of it. It's not easy. We're in a very tumultuous, it can be seen tumultuous, but there is light at the end of the tunnel. So thank you for hearing what we say, and thank you for just being love all through the day, and giving your heart all the nutrients that it needs. So until the next great adventure, Joseph Jacques, and this is Dr. Julie Gerland, and have a beautiful day.
Take care, all the best, and see you soon.
Bye-bye.